so much for joining us tonight. I feel like even though we didn't learn last week, I felt very connected to everyone over Purim for all the Purim Hachanot we did. And we all said, though, that all the hype towards Purim was just a prep for the day after Purim. So I really don't feel like anyone's the same either, because Purim is this place up there that we reached, hopefully, Bezrat Hashem ad lo yada, and hala. Now it's ready. Now it's B'dikas Chametz. You don't wait for the night before Pesach to actually clean up the Chametz. Right, women? I mean, men? Sorry. Start now. Getting rid of it now. So much to share in such a short amount of time, but I first of all want to just mention, this is very important, tomorrow, more or less, is really the last day that we're able to put in any dedications into the soul of Yerushalayim for this next, say, soul of Jerusalem, which will be coming out B'ezrat Hashem this summer. It's like I've been pushing this deadline. Pushing. So if you're able to be a shutaf, a partner in this dream, please let me know as soon as possible. Email me right after class, or whenever you listen to this, and together let's be part of this incredible. The gates open tremendously this week, big time. And now it's this last final thing to make sure that we can get everything that's needed to print enough so that it could reach all of Am Yisrael by the time that Tisha B'Av takes place, which will be a complete waste of printing because we won't have to be dealing with any of the pain that's in the book, because all the Torah that we learned will transform that day from it being what it is now to the Yontiv that B'ezrat Hashem Kara Alai Moed, the Yontiv that it's going to be B'ezrat Hashem. So please, that's mamish very important. So to get in a dedication, please, as soon as possible. Some Chevra have asked me, that's why I'm just reminding everyone now. Please. I want to continue tonight's learning. Tonight was crazy. I don't know if you saw, Israel came in and left right away. He got a call that one of his family friend, the Rav, was just passed away in the Leviticus right now in Yerushalayim. And as he left the house, he said, it's also my father's 70th Yortzei tonight. So tonight we'll be learning the Ilui Nishmas Rabbi Yaakov Menachem ben Chananya Yom Tov Lipa, and also in memory of my dear friend Joe's Abba, Ben Tzion Yosef ben Shmuel Yaakov, who passed away last week, and to David's cousin, Moshe Shmuel ben Baruch. And we continue with my dear friend Sturi's Abba Eliezer ben Eliyahu Aryeh, and my dear friend Adir's parents Miriam bat Eliyahu Zcharia ben Yaakov, and obviously we still will be continuing to pour out our hearts and soul begging for the refuah shlema of Michal Moshe Ze'ev ben Yehudis, Alter Baruch ben Sarah, Binyamin Mordechai Nachman ben Ilana, Harav Nasan Daniel ben Malka, Shoshana Resa bas Ahuva, and all the Daniel, I Shlomo, that name. Do you remember it by heart? I'm sorry, I don't have it on me. I didn't bring it. Okay, well, him too, B'ezrat Hashem, and anybody else, please insert to yourself the name. Every year, Parshat Tazria is the highest. Those of you who are with us, it was 2 years ago. Last year we didn't get to learn Parshat Tazria. The way it came out last year was, I think it was the Shabbos right after Pesach, which usually it's after Pesach. This year, because of the 2 months, so it came out after Purim. Parshat Tazria is the highest, especially for all the imas in the room, for all any women, ima to be, B'ezrat Hashem. This parsha, this shiur, is the absolute most. It's dynamite. It's dynamite on many levels, and I get very, very excited every parsha Tazria. And today I said to myself the whole day, I was like, listen, don't mess it up. Like, don't let your excitement to get over what you're trying to give over. So what I did is that there's a piece that Reb Shlomo, it must be that Reb Shlomo had just come to the Moshav on Parshat Tazria in 1989, because while he's teaching, he stops every few seconds, say, hey, Brachula, hey, Brindela, hey, Michael, hey. You can't, I met the whole chevra through this shiur. Couldn't stop. He keeps on greeting everyone and stopping, and the train of thought was kind of interesting. And yet he still was able to get back on track in between every single one. But tonight's shiur is the learning that we're doing tonight ties into something, a very important yesod, a mamash, a fundamental that we learn in the Ishbitz in Mea Shiloach. It's going to explain, well, we're tying in last Shabbos to this Shabbos, to next Shabbos, to the Shabbos after that. You ever notice those things in life when after you get a whole Jewish education, then you start to learn about something that shows up in the Parsha, and you're like, wait a second, how come I didn't learn about that? I got from education. Where did that one go, right? So there are the obvious ones, like okay, Yehuda and Tamar. We're gonna blame the guy that gets paid, whatever it is, to become a Jewish educator, that he doesn't understand the depths of Mashiach coming into the world, like Yehuda and Tamar. Come on, of course you have to know that, right? So we're not gonna be too hard with the story of Yehuda and Tamar. But there are a lot of stories that really are very, very, very powerful, which we don't have the vessels to explain it on pshat, so we'll say, look, there's more important things to learn, let's just move on. But then there's certain things that are like, how in the world could you move on? And what story am I talking about? Obviously, what happened this last Shabbos? Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron. Now, usually in our Shiur, we learn about the coming Shabbos, but this week, what we're going to be doing tonight is tying in last Shabbos, Shmini, and why Tazria comes after Shmini, and really why Mitzorah comes after Tazria, and why Achreimot comes after Tazria Mitzorah. It's going to be a lot. The most important thing is to keep track. Tonight we're going on a roller coaster ride. Tonight it's like Rabbi Shlomo is taking us on a trip through the month of Nisan and all the parshiyos leading up to Pesach. But you have to really stay on the ride, keep your hands under the rail, like they say, right? I grew up in Magic Mountain in Disneyland. That was like life. So Universal Studios, I'm from LA. I heard that just as much as I heard, like, say a bracha after. I heard, like, sir, keep your hands under the rail, Anyway, Purim is still...
It's like roller coasters.
Apparently they like me. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And just everyone should know in here, this is a very important time to daven big time, that the gate should open for all those who want to bring children into the world. Parshat Tazria, it's not a simple thing. It's a very, very deep thing. And all the children that are coming into the world, like this, learning this parsha, and the secret of this parsha should be a big zgula, a strong strengthening of the yesodot, the foundations of our emunah, and it should be a strong pillar of tefillah for the healthy birth across the board, Bezrat Hashem. So please keep that in mind as we're learning tonight, whenever we learn, but especially tonight. All right. Here. Pass these around. So please, if you can, just keep on. It's back and forth. Please just keep your eyes on with the text. And if something's not clear, it could very well be that you're just the only one that has the guts to say it's not clear. But this was a very, very difficult piece to kind of edit. One of the most difficult pieces to edit. So I hope, I don't know, I can only pray, Hashem, that I was a shliach ne'aman to transmit this. L'shem yichud kudsha v'richu shchintei. Al yidehu tameh v'nelam b'shem kol Yisrael. All right. Everyone really hot? Yeah? It's open, so I'm not going to put on the air conditioning. You okay? Okay, we're chill?
Open the curtain.
Yeah, it is open, yeah.
Open the curtain.
Yeah, you could, sure. Change so much. Okay.
It's still out.
Huh?
It's still out.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so just a one more word of intro, okay? Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron a Kohen dying in last week's Shabbos, is a mystery upon mystery. It doesn't make any sense on the pshat. Nothing is clear, even the way that we understand what happened based on that Rashi. Rashi gives 3 reasons there why they died. They weren't married, they went in drunk, or they paskin halacha before Moshe Rabbeinu, their Rebbe. They said, no, this is the halacha. There's a lot of mystery, but you know what, whatever you want to say, they go down in Yiddishkeit as two of the most mysterious and holiest figures in the whole Torah. Reb Shlomo has mountains and mountains of teachings on who these two people were, Nadav and Avihu. Many say they became one with the neshama of Eliyahu Hanavi, which is very far out, which makes it even weirder because that means they became one with the neshama of their nephew. Who was their nephew that did something very, very holy? Pinchas. Remember, Pinchas was the son of Elazar, which was the brother. He was one of the brothers of Nadav and Avihu. These are all the children, the 4 sons of Aaron a Kohen. So it's not, again, this is like, we're going to be learning tonight, you're not going to see in pshat, you're going to see though, if you cry over, a lot of times we learn something, And if we don't cry over it to understand what it's really about, the parsha just slips through your hands, and you have not, before you even noticed what was going on. This is a typical example of like, that's something we learn every year. But wait a second. After tonight's learning, you'd be like, I cannot believe that I lived my life learning the parshas every single year, and I didn't force myself to say, Shlomo, come on, you're just going to read this again? Come on. So it's a beautiful moment to just let go of whatever held us back in the past from digging deeper. And when you force yourself to dig deeper with the Torah forces yourself to dig deeper with your own neshama. That's what it means, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam. When you take something in the Torah that you could just say, whatever, I know the pshat, let's move on, and you say, mapitom, I'm going much deeper with it. And the Torah comes back to you and says, you took me to the next level, I'm going to take you to the next level too. In your life, whatever it is. Okay. After the story of Nadav and Avihu, it says, ve'achehem kol beis Yisrael yivku es asreifa asher saraf Hashem. And their brothers were mamish crying over them, over the fire which Hashem made. Like Reb Shlomo said, like in the tape, that he saw that no one else really speaks about this, that when when these two brothers die, all their brothers start crying, meaning all their siblings, not just siblings, but all their holy brothers, v'acheim, acheinu kol beis Yisrael. Everyone started losing it. Everyone started crying. You don't see that, do we see like when Moshe Rabbeinu takes the Shevet Levi and they start killing the Yidden after Egel Azav, how many Jews did they kill after the golden calf? 30,000, right? 3,000. So 3,000. No one, you don't see a whole instance of everyone started crying. Here, 2 sons die, and everyone starts crying, and they start calling it Mamish HaSrefa Saraf Hashem, the fire which Hashem made, meaning that their death caused an extremely, extremely deep reshimu, which means like a signature in Am Yisrael's neshama. The Am Yisrael was really, Bnei Yisrael were really connected to these 2 boys, men. I'm not sure how old they were, but something happened. It's not just they died, let's move on. Everyone started crying. What did Nadav and Avihu bring into the world that made all their brothers cry? And here I want you to open your hearts. Was Mount Sinai really the highest thing in the world? Well, sure it was. It was the highest thing in the world until that time. But after that, it had to get even higher, higher and higher. Why did we make the golden calf? Because Mount Sinai wasn't enough anymore. It was time for Moshe Rabbeinu to bring down the luchos, the tablets, and suddenly they felt so empty. We needed more than that. We needed more than just whatever we even thought was on its way. We needed something new which never existed before in order to fill our hearts. Now, I want to ask you all a very interesting question. Shlomo was talking about hearts being empty at Matan Torah. If you just saw what they saw leading up to Matan Torah, would you need anything else in life to fill your heart?
Yes.
Why?
Because when you have such a strong gilui and they didn't have enough hachana kaniyah before, because you also see that they were staying in their tents and they had to be pulled out. When you get such a strong just boom, all of a sudden it leaves you with something empty. If you have enough, if it's a slower growing, and you reach something
good.
like Mount Sinai when you go slower, so then that can continue to fill your neshama. But if all that you know and all they know right now of God is big booms, then they're just waiting for the next big boom.
That's great. That's Gavat. That's a beautiful... Mamish didn't even think of that for 1 second. So they needed the golden calf because the fact that they saw Moshe Rabbeinu walk up a mountain to God, they had no idea what to do with that.
They didn't build kalim yet, how to accept.
That's Gavat. That's God. So what do you say about 1948 and 1967?
It's a hard one.
And we need more. It's like, okay, we need more. Hashem, What was the ratio of Israeli soldier versus Arab soldier? 1 to what? It's like and even and 1 to, I've heard 1 to 17, 1 to 35, 1 to 40, and yet we're still like, I am a Kom Kvodo. Really?
Well, because we had the Kalim of Galus. We didn't have the Kalim of Efrat Israel yet. So the whole Indian is just like we had to receive the Torah, and once we received the Torah on Mount Sinai, so slowly when it came down and Moshe Rabbeinu was there, we were able to slowly, through the Torah, build the Kalim in order to accept what we just got. The same thing happened when we came to Eretz Yisrael. We need to now build the Kalim in order to accept the Ora Gadol of Eretz Yisrael. We didn't have the Kalim throughout the Galut of how to accept this Ora Gadol of...
No. But now let's go back to Yetzias Mitzrayim. It was Hashem's cheshbon to do it like that with us without vessels, because He saw one more level of tuma and we're done. So God said, "Look, I'm going to give you something that you don't have vessels for." And then we know Sfiras HaOmer is 7 weeks of building a vessel to understand that which we got in when we left Egypt. Like building the vessel for the Torah is to understand the depth of what it means to leave exile. But it was Hashem's cheshbon to do something to us without the kelim to understand what He was doing to us.
Which is why we weren't punished for the golden calf. Necessarily, if you look.
Well, I would say more. Well, 3,000 Jews were killed.
Well, but we weren't punished for building the golden calf. We were punished for Vayitzachaku, for the.
That's a machlok. No, that's not as pashut. There's a way to darshan like that, but when 3,000 didn't get killed.
It was for the
to me, it doesn't matter. No, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to get stuck on that point. For me, when one Jew gets killed, that means it's a punishment. It doesn't matter what it is. But maybe that's why we got forgiven for the golden calf. That's maybe what it means. We're going to get to that in a second. That's awesome what you just said. And thank you for sharing that. So, okay, so here, perfect timing. Look at the next paragraph. So what did we do after the forgiveness of the golden calf? Okay, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives us. Moshe Rabbeinu brings down the Yud Gimel Midos Rachmin. There's a sulcha here, there's forgiveness taking place. What did we do after the forgiveness of the golden calf? We made the Mishkan, right? And how many parshas where we have to force ourselves to feel interested in Sefer Shmot? We talk about the Mishkan, right? But here too, Nadav and Avihu got so nervous. Now look at Reb Shlomo's Pshat and Nadav and Avihu. What good is it? It'll be the same thing. Unless the Mishkan is so gewalt that it's filling my heart so much, unless 1 second of being in the Mishkan means more than my whole life, it's not worth it. It's the Egel Hazav all over again. Now, Scott, now I want to tie in what you said to understand this paragraph. Nadav and Avihu are saying, unless I can do something with being in the Mishkan, unless I could have vessels to understand the great light of the Mishkan, you can bring me the biggest Mishkan in the world. You can give me anything in the world, but if something is so holy and it doesn't move my heart and fill me inside, oy vey. And this is what Nadav and Avihu, Reb Shlomo says, we're so nervous about. That here we're bringing down such Kedusha into the world, things like the Mishkan, and they're so nervous that, wait a second, they're going to feel empty again. Maybe because they don't have vessels to understand what Kedusha is, or maybe something else. Now this is what I wanted to talk about for a second. You ever feel the need that nothing will ever be enough? You'll never get enough of something? Whatever high you're feeling, it's got to be more. It's got to be more. And whenever you feel something even higher, you say, okay, now I want to feel it even more. I want to feel it even more. What happens to you? That drive for holiness starts to make your life the most empty. Why? Because you never let yourself live the moment. So your drive, it's true, it's a holy thing. It's the most holiest thing in the world. To want to keep on feeling higher and higher, more and more and more. I feel this, wow, I can imagine, I'm going to feel this. That drive to feel holiness, and really we're talking about any quote-unquote addiction, never lets you live in the moment. There's always someone else. There's always something else to learn. You hear a great song, and instead of being so amazed, like, wow, this song is so good, you're already thinking after the first verse and chorus, well, I gotta hear whatever else they have, and I have to buy all their albums. Wait a second. Shh. No one's going anywhere. But wait a second, how long am I going to live? How long's my life? How much time will I have? Vayikra. Quiet. Quiet down for a second. You don't have the vessels to understand anything you just said right now, that's one. But B, chakeshnia. Something much greater is going on. Now I want to ask you all something to think about for a second. Take today. Anyone have a drive today for feeling good and then wanting to feel even better than that good? Or was it just a drive to stop feeling bad? So there's a big difference. Like, was it survival mode, or was it I don't know, what's like the counter of that? What's like thriving, yeah, or was it thriving mode, right? You know, it's such an amazing thing. If you look back at our days, you realize how many days were spent in survival mode versus how many days were spent in thriving mode. And you realize, oh my God, how many days of my life was I just busy surviving? When really, wow, now that I look back, I didn't have to worry about 95% of the things that I worried about. I could have thrived. Now, this is amazing, okay? We're going on a roller coaster, okay? Now we started, okay? Now we're going up, up, up. You don't know what's, that plummet or your stomach drops to you feel everything that you ever ate since your bar mitzvah, and then you're gonna, okay, laat.
Shlomo also is the entire Indian of what Shlomo says of Tazria and Kadesh.
Chake, we're not there yet, and it's not the. I want to go to another side of that, but laat, everyone, okay? Now, so what did we do after the forgiveness of the golden calf? We made the Mishkan, but here too, Nadav and Avihu got so nervous. What good is it? It'll be the same thing. Unless the Mishkan is so gewalt that it's filling my heart so much, unless 1 second of being in the Mishkan means more than my whole life, it's not worth it. It's the Egel Hazav all over again. Nadav and Avihu thought that if I go to the Beis HaMikdash and my heart is still empty and I'm missing something, I'll make another golden calf. Chevra, which Hasidic Rebbe does he sound like? Does this explanation Nadav and Avihu sound like regarding Jews coming back to Eretz Israel? The Satmar Rebbe. 100%. What's the whole time of Satmar? We always say that you think the Satmar Rebbe isn't in love with every piece of sand in Eretz Israel? Trust me, Chevra. He loves not only every gargir chol, and this is going to be hard for some of you to hear, he loves every chayal more than we understand what the concept of love is. Rav Yoelish Zatzal, Zecher Tzadik Kodesh Livrocha, Rav Yoel Teilbaum, the Satmar Rebbe, loved every chayal avas nefesh. We get so caught up in the details of politics to understand, thinking, oh, he was anti-Zionist, but he doesn't know what the Kedusha of a chayal is. Really? But you know what he was so scared of? And we see a lot of his fears really were emes. What was the fear? Is that coming back to Eretz Israel won't be what it could be. Do you understand? And that to him, the pain of having the opportunity to thrive but being busy surviving was too much to bear. It was too much to bear. It was too painful. Is that clear, by the way? Or is that very confusing?
Can you say it again another way?
Shlomo said, if you meet somebody if you met Beethoven when he was a teenager and you knew what Beethoven did in life, because you have this whatever time capsule, whatever it is, and you see that he's choosing to become a guy that tunes pianos, it would break your heart into a million pieces, right? Why? Because you know the potential that this guy has. So now let's change it out 1,000 times over, many times over when it comes to the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Shlomo said, what used to bother the Rebbes that were against Zionism? Is because coming back to Eretz Yisrael became this national anthem. They became this national move where really, what are you talking about? You're talking about 2,000 years of tears. 2,000 years of tears. Coming back in the merit of 2,000 years of tears, unless, like he says about Nadav and Avihu, unless the Mishkan, meaning Eretz Yisrael, doesn't fill every part of me, and I have no desire to ever leave this place, and to ever think of giving back anything, whatever it is, it's too much to bear if it doesn't work like that.
I think there was a fear that Israel itself would become greater than God in Torah. It would become like
Definitely.
became
Perfect.
a religion in itself.
That's why he said
Rather than
that-
means.
What's that?
But it's enough.
Exactly, and that's why he says here, by the way, in the Shiur, Rabbi Shlomo was teaching it, so Michal, he should have a refuah shlema, he asked Rabbi Shlomo, he said, why did they think, people that moved, like the Chalutzim, like how did we get to a situation that they felt that it was enough just to be here? But he didn't want to go down that path, that's already a whole another Shiur, but we're just talking about the fear of Nadav and Avihu. They were so scared that people would make Avodah Zarah out of a Mishkan. That they would say, Mishkan, it's enough. We don't have to get to Eretz Yisrael, build a Beis HaMikdash. We have a Mishkan. We'll stay in the desert. Doesn't matter. God's Shechina dwells here. What more do we need?
Wait, that's what he's saying they were afraid of? It sounds like here he's saying they were afraid of the opposite. That people would be like, what, this? Nothing new. Like, you're saying they'd be so happy, they'd be so blissed out, they like wouldn't even want to move on.
No,
But
there's two
here-
tzaddim. One side is that they'd be so scared that they'd make another Egel Azav from it, that they'd be okay with just that, like they were okay with having an Egel Azav. And the other fear was that even after they would make that, it still wouldn't fill their hearts. Just like every year, the Midrash says that. I think Midrash says that while they were had the Egel Azav, they realized, wait a second, that which we thought would fill our hearts does nothing either. So the emptying, the fear was twofold, but it's good. What you're saying is very strong. The fear was twofold. Okay, let's go weiter. Now, when this is the bottom of the third paragraph. And we're just starting. This is really awesome, Chavra. Okay. Now, when does the story of Nadav and Avihu take place? Right after Shivas Yemei Miluim. Now, what does that mean? By the way, Chavra, what does the Shivas Yemei Miluim mean? What is that? What days were the Shivat Yemei Miluim?
Yeah. 23rd Adar till,
Very good. What took place during those days?
Moshe consecrated the Mishkan, they were building it every day. until
Why is it called why is it called Miluim?
he fulfilled it. All right.
Very good. Check this out, son. Right after Shivas Yemei Miluim is when Vahi Bayom Hashmini, the 8th day, right? This is after like Saul was saying 7 days Moshe Rabbeinu erecting the Mishkan and falling back and forth. We learned about this a lot in Parshat what was it? In Pekud, Vayikra Pekude, right? Look what he says here. Shivas Yemei Miluim, which literally means the days that fill your hearts, miluim, meaning it was mamale your lev, Reb Shlomo says, Shivas Yemei Miluim. It was 7 days that were filling our hearts, seeing Moshe Rabbeinu build the Mishkan, falling apart, rebuilding it again. Remember we learned that Torah about what it takes to keep on re-erecting things that fall in your life. How that fulfill, we're inspired by people that fail and get up, not by people that are only successful. Especially this door, we'll go to watch a TED Talk. If I see a guy that never, ever, ever had a fear of speech in public, and finally, but he's getting up and giving a speech talking about what it means to have confidence, it does nothing to me. What am I turned on? By a guy that was petrified and it was megamgaming. He was stuttering the whole time, and for 20 years, and until he finally got it together. It was 7 days of Miluim where our hearts were filled by looking at Moshe Rabbeinu, saying, wow, look what it takes to get our lives together, no matter how many times we fall. Because Gewalt, Shlomo says, did we need to fill our hearts again after the golden calf? You see, after the Egel Azav, we were so empty because we realized that we mamish messed up the concept of Kedusha. We messed up the concept of holiness so much so that look what we thought we were doing that was holy. Every Jew that built was part of the Egel Azav. Do you know what he looked like? Shtraimo kapota, payas, beard. We have this image that we're talking about like, mechila, but hipsters or what are you talking about? The Yidden that built the Egel Azav, they wanted the holiest thing in the world. Well, who's that guy that helped them put it together? Oh yeah, Aaron HaKohen, the father of Nadav and Avihu. Not so pashut, right? It's not so simple like the pshat. At all. Something much bigger here. You see, the Ishbitzer says in Parashat Shmini that the Torah lets us know about Averas for a very specific reason. When we go through the Torah and we learn about people's sins, you could think, wait a second, why would God want me to know Lashon Hara about His children? Or you could trust that God is letting me know about failings to give me such koach to make it till Mashiach comes. That's definitely what's happening here in Parshat Shmini, Tazria Metzora Acharei Mot. Now listen to this. Look what the Mei Shilach says. The Mei Shilach says that before Shlomo HaMelech became the king, he mamish learned the depths of Parshat Tazria Metzora. You know what? I want to read it for you inside. What Rabbi Shlomo just said. It's the weirdest thing. If you have an Ishbitzer and you open it up in Parshat Tazria, so it just kind of like says in the middle of it, you should open this up at home if you have it. You see it in Shabbos. And it just says, like right in the middle of everything, there's all these Torahs. Then there's like 3 lines. Shlomo HaMelech alav shalom lo yashav al kisei malchuto ad shelamad vehivin shnei parshiyot Tazria Metzora la'amitam. Boom, done. Then it quotes a pasuk and gives a Torah. Like in the middle of nowhere, it says, Mamish, Shlomo HaMelech did not sit on his chair of kingdom, on his throne, until he studied and understood the 2 parshas of Tazria Metzora le'amitam, to its depth, to its emes. Mamish, Ishbitzer just says this out of nowhere. You know, if I had to think about what a king needed to learn before becoming king, Tazria Metzora would be down there with other parshas which we try to skip over fast. I think maybe Parshat Noach, I don't know. Or, no, Parshat Vayikra, right, or Yosef, or Bishalach, Yitro. Tazria Metzora was what was bothering Shlomo HaMelech before he became king. So, Reb Shlomo says that's already something. That's a gate-opening Torah. Now, we know that everything we are doing in this world is to correct the sin of Adam and Chava. Tazria is mamish the most unbelievable fixing of the world. Why? The first fixing is, how does the parsha start? Isha ki Tazria ve'ada zachar. A woman, when she, how do you say, let's say Tazria, when she gives, when she gives birth. This is the fixing of Chava, when a woman gives birth. And then it says a few psukim later, Adam, meaning Adam. Kiyeh be'or besaro, it's where he talks about something about the fixing of Adam, of man. This is the fixing of Adam. You know, usually you see the fixing of Adam and Chava differently in each parsha. And we've seen in this Shiur a lot of different ways of understanding the fixing of really Eitz Hadat in many different ways. How we fix the tree of knowledge, through what mitzvah or what story the Torah is telling us about. Here in Parshat Tazria, it's boom, boom. Isha ki Tazria ve'ada zachar. Let's talk about a woman, what she has to do in the world. Then, Adam, kiyeh be'or b'tzaros ve'etz ha'pachat u'ba'eret. And a man, what does he have to go through? It's like right there. Boom and boom. Now, why suddenly here, in the middle of Vayikra, does the fixing of Adam and Eve take place? And more so, why suddenly does Ishbitzer say that Shlomo HaMelech needed to learn Tazria Metzora in order to become a king? What's the importance of these parshiot? And tonight we're going to specifically speak about Tazria. Okay? So look what it says. Look what comes right before it. Meaning, look what comes before Tazria. And look what comes right after it. What comes right before Parshat Tazria? Shmini means the story of Nadav and Avihu. What comes right after Metzora? Vayhi, right? Acharei mot shnei bnei Aaron bekorvatam lifnei Hashem veyamutu. So I always wondered this. It's such a weird thing. The story of Nadav and Avihu happens in Parshat Shmini, and then a few weeks later we revisit it again. After Tazria Metzora, the Torah starts talking again about the sin of what they did and how they died. Why? What's going on the Ksavot, on the ends, and what's going on in the middle over here? Reb Shlomo is going to explain this to us in such a beautiful way. By Nadav and Avihu it says, Bekorvasam lifnei Hashem vayamusu. As they got close to God, they died. Which is the most puzzling thing in the world. By the way, even when Moshe Rabbeinu explains the reason of their death, in the name of God, right? What is the 2 words that are used there, which is so bizarre? Bikrovai akadesh. I sanctify myself, akadesh bikrovai, amongst those who are closest to me. You know, I was once at a funeral Shalom Neda v'chayal, Kodesh Kodashim. And his father gave the hesped at his son's grave. He just kept on saying these two words, Bikrovai HaKadosh. Things we'll never know. We'll never understand. Bikrovai HaKadosh. God sanctifies His name amongst those who are closest to Him. And on Friday night we say, Karva el nafshi ge'ela. They mamish brought about the redemption of the world. This closeness that Nadav and Avihu were trying to attain, Reb Shlomo says, it brought about the redemption of the world. It was the beginning of something extraordinary which the world did not have kelim for. So Scott, we're back to you. What Nadav and Avihu did, the world for sure didn't have kelim for, and therefore they were consumed on fire. We'll understand this in a second. Or we'll understand that we don't understand in a second. Okay? Their holy understanding of being close was endless, Nadav and Avihu. There's always more. There's always the Kodesh Kodashim, which is infinite. That's where they ran into, right? And Gewalt, where their brothers crying over this holy desire that Nadav and Avihu had. And this is important to mention. Their Ratzon of Nadav and Avihu was Kodesh Kodashim. It was so holy. What did they want? Reb Shlomo says they wanted to bring the light of Vayihi Bayom Hashmini. Reb Shlomo says it's a beautiful way of understanding. What's Yom Hashmini? The 8th day. I love the 8th day. Those guys are good friends of mine in the band. I'm not talking about the band right now. The 8th day is Yom Shekulo Shabbos. The day after the framework of this 7-day world. They wanted it now. By the way, who else kind of wanted it now when we saw that bad news happen to them? Does anyone remember? They wanted something to happen now. They talk to Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, no, bad idea. They say, sorry, we're going anyway. Then the feeling, that's right. Right before, right? In the story, it was in Shlach, right? It's in Shlach? Yeah, it's in Shlach, I think. There's something so awesome where Ribono Shel Olam tells you, it's gewalt that you want something. But do you know the secret of time or not? Do you know the secret of time or not? This is what we're getting to. So what happens in between the two parshas of Nadav and Avihu? Okay, this is beautiful. So now we're getting close to understanding what Nadav and Avihu were all about, okay? What happens in between these two parshas? Isha ki Tazria, when a woman gives birth to a child in the craziest, most unbelievable way, she's considered impure. And she cannot enter the holy temple, which is the weirdest thing in the world. Here I want to say a Torah that's not in here. It's Torah we say every year. When I learned it the first time, like 7-8 years ago, I felt like it was worth living in this world just hearing this Torah alone. Mamish. And we learned it 2 years ago, and I want to say it again. I think Daniela and Ruth and Amy, Mindy too. I don't think anyone else was there from this room. So it's okay if I say it again. Or I could, and Ariella, of course, you were there, or I can embarrass you and call on one of you to remind us what it is. No. It's fine. But you all know what I'm talking about when I say it, you'll remember. Reb Shmelke of Nikolsburg says something startling, he says something amazing. It says that a woman has to teshev bidmei tahara. That she can't come into the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because she sits in the blood of her purity, meaning that she has to go through a process till a woman receives this purity again, so that she can go into the Beis HaMikdash. Now listen to this. Shmelka says, in Hebrew, we just learned last week that dam, blood, doesn't just mean blood. What did we say last Shabbos when Aaron HaKohen finds out about his sons? Vayidom, which means he was silent. Shmelka of Nikolsburg says, the woman, no one can be around her. She's out of this world. She's sitting in the silence of her purity. Bidmei tahara. For her, the world and everything about the world is like a letdown compared to where she just came from. And nothing in this world, even the Beis HaMikdash, even the Beis HaMikdash isn't high enough for her. Kind of changes the pshat, right? Just a tad stir. It's gewalt, no? Okay. Everyone knows that when a woman gives birth to a baby, it's the highest experience in the world. The most godlike thing in the world is to bring a baby into the world. You come out from this and you're impure. You have to wait to become pure again in order to get into the holy temple. What's going on here? Now, by the way, on a side note, a woman has to, after she goes through this process, she has to bring a korban, right? Why does she have to bring a korban, remember? Because while we have this Masorah that while a woman gives birth, she swears that she'll never do this again. And she has to give this korban over what she just said. But yeah. But none of us remember that besides the husbands that are standing there and hearing those words, you know. When you give birth to a baby, you're so close to God. Close is not the word. You're mamish godly. How do you come back to the world? So in the craziest way, even the Beis HaMikdash wasn't enough to bring a woman back to the closeness and to the filling of her heart, which she just experienced at birth. And this is not the way to come into the Beis HaMikdash, right? So it's an unbelievable thing here that Chazal did. You don't come to the Beis HaMikdash to feel something lacking. The Beis HaMikdash was the place of mamish, of Shivas Yemei Miluim, of a milui, of a filling of your heart. But if tasting the utmost that this world has to offer other than childbirth and it not filling your heart, that's one of the fears that Nadav and Avihu had. Do you see what's crazy? Nadav and Avihu go into the Kodesh Kodashim because they want to bring that to the world, because they think that's the only thing that'll fill Am Yisrael. God says, you're out of here. Next parsha, Isha ki Tazria, you become godly, you bring a child into the world, and you're not allowed to come into the Beis HaMikdash. Because birth is the one thing in the world. Bringing a child into the world, bless you, is the one thing in the world which we'll see at the end that Nadav and Avihu could not understand. Why couldn't they understand the depth of birth? Because one of the reasons that Rashi says that they were punished was because what? They weren't married. You know, when a person's not married, their conception, their whole concept of holiness is a little bit of an illusion. And I bless everyone to get married, whoever needs to get married. And when you're on the outside of that, being busy building a house, your concept of what would be the holiest thing in the world is very different while you're under your own roof, building your own home with your husband. You know, even before you have children, just you and your husband. The concept of Kedusha is so different than before you were married, you know. Different world. Ask anyone before they're married to when they're married. What their concepts of holiness were. It's a different ballgame. But Nadav and Avihu couldn't understand what it means. They thought, we have to bring Yom HaShmini in order to make it into this world. We have to bring stuff that don't exist in this world in order to make Yidden really full in their hearts. And here a woman comes, Parshat Tazria, a week later, and the Torah tells us, she is so high and holy that she did the most godliest thing in the world, which, by the way, is the most gashmi thing in the world too. You ever realize that? The most godliest thing in the world you could do is the most physical thing that you could do in this world. Such a weird thing. Nadav and Avihu, that to them that's Chinese. What in the world does that mean? You see why Tazria is coming after Shmini? It's unbelievable. It gets better. Everyone knows that what a mother brings down to the world when giving birth is the closest any human being can come close to in regards to fixing the tree of knowledge. Gewalt. How so? The downfall of the world began when death was introduced to the world. And you know what the fixing is? So what would you say, Chaver, is the tikkun of death? Eternal life. Right? Until they ate from that tree, there was only life. There's no such thing as death. We've spoken about it many times. Only once she eats, death is brought into the world. So you think, okay, so the tikkun of that means, let's abolish death forever, and let's just have life now forever. The fixing is not by living forever, Reb Shlomo says. The fixing is having one moment that is deeper than all eternity. As much as a mother is worried about their child's future, the eternity is found within each kiss, each hug, each song. Each moment becomes much more important than whatever might be one day. You see, on the one hand, like, this is where we get trapped in marriages and in parenthood. It's the same thing with marriages, parenthood, is that we always have to kind of like, I once, the first time I met one of my favorite people in the world, a totally freaked out hippie. I'll never forget this. This was Shabbos, summer of 1997. My friend Stewie's basement. We were a bunch of I just turned 17, and a bunch of these people that I just met. I grew up in straight LA and Ranana. I come to LA, back to LA. I see what it means. Vayeda kol yitzur, yovin kol yitzur ki ata yitzarta. I meet all these different kind of chavra, and this guy who many of you know, I'm not going to mention his name, Mamish Gan Shabagan, Friday night, and he sees me, and he says the first Torah I ever heard him say, and the truth is I don't know if it's true even, but it didn't matter because it touches me so deeply till today. He said, the Zohar HaKadosh says that worrying is evil, being concerned is a must, but worrying is evil because worry shaveh Safek Shaveh Amalek. Worrying means doubt. Doubt means Amalek. Concerned, you're put in this world. Of course you're going to be concerned. You're showing God you're concerned with what's going on. You're part of it. Worrying? Different ball. You see, a mother, a father, B'ezrat Hashem, anything that has to do with family dynamics, of course we're always concerned with what's going to be. But when you let yourself taste the gift that Hashem gave you at your own Shabbos table, looking at your husband, looking at your wife, B'ezrat Hashem, looking at your child, you're fixing the sin of Eitz Hadat. Because Eitz Hadat, the tree of knowledge, tells you, unless I know that everything's going to be absolutely perfect forever, I can't enjoy the moment. But the whole thing of Isha ki Tazria, woman bringing a child into this world, is the power of the moment lasting forever. Moments lasting forever. Look what Reb Shlomo says. Do you know what's so special about this world? Obviously, the Ishbitzer says God didn't want us to live forever. If He wanted us to live forever, we wouldn't have a purpose. Look what He says. Imagine we'd live forever. And I meet a girl, I take her number, and I say, okay, I'll catch you in maybe 25 years. I mean, we have time. What's the rush, right? So since we're not living here forever, time became so precious. A few weeks ago after Shiur, someone that was here said, I have to see you tomorrow. I said, well, what's going on? He said, I have to meet you tomorrow. I said, fine. Next morning we met. Thought we were going to meet for a little bit. Ended up, we continued. I said, I have to get home. I have to take care of something in the house. They came with me back to the house. We sat here for another half hour, 45 minutes. And what was bothering this person? Time. He realized for the first time in his life that we're not here forever. And it's like his whole world fell. And he never had the realization that we're not here forever. Like most of us don't really realize that we're not here forever. It takes death to remind us that, which is so sick. That it takes someone else's death to remind us that we're not here forever? So, Reb Shlomo is saying here, what a beautiful thing happened through the Eitz Hadat. Until everyone wants to know, like, if God wanted everything to be perfect, how did He let us sin? How did He let us do this? Because unbelievable thing. Until, and this is, listen very closely, Chaver, this is like, we're wrapping up, and this is taking everything to the next level. The world was created, and we ate from the tree of knowledge. And what do we think happened once we ate from the tree of knowledge? Evil, death, bad, black, darkness, confusion, Amalek, divorces, abandonment issues. But what else happened with the tree of knowledge when we ate from the tree of knowledge? By death coming into the world, time became precious. Take it for whatever it's worth. Like Reb Shlomo says, if there was no eating from the tree, if death never came into this world, you and I wouldn't do anything in our lives. Why? Because we always say, even now when we know we need something to get done next week, right? But we could do it tomorrow, all day. We can even do it the next day. When are we going to do it? When are we going to get to it? We live in a world of procrastination. It's unbelievable. But it's look what he does. It's amazing. Now, what do we read right before the holiday of freedom? What is Parshat HaChodesh, which is the Shabbos we read right before Pesach, right? HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, the first mitzvah, which is tying to what you said, Scott. The first mitzvah of is about making time precious, right? The sanctification of the new month, of the new moon, Kiddush Levana. The first mitzvah that we have in this world is to sanctify time. And that's the key to freedom, to being free. A person that is walking around thinking, I'm about to die one day, he's a slave. The person that's free also knows he's about to die one day. But what's the difference between the two? Is that he knows how to make eternity out of the moments that are given to him in this life. And the other person is too busy worrying about the day he's going to die. It's like, imagine when a mother is holding a baby for her first time. You know how plugged in a mother is to the child's eternity? Wait a second. The mother could start saying, wait a second. I brought something into this world that's eventually going to go back into the dirt. Why, but you're looking at me like, what's this guy telling? Why not? Why not?
She celebrates life.
Ah, what's that called? That's called being a free person. Exactly.
If you get a perspective, it's like flashed in my head. I had a couple once, young couples, just behaving so horribly to each other. There was this couple, and they were like torturing each other. So I said to them, like, if you knew you each had 3 months to live, is this how you would be treating each other? So they said to me, it's an unfair question. I said, for me, it's not. And it wasn't, because I love my husband. I didn't appreciate how much.
No one does.
You know, and like,
Besides
they
Nate.
really startled up, and I straightened out.
So look what he says here. You know what the greatest fixing is? The fixing of death is not by living forever. The fixing is to know how precious time is. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Eden, you want to fix the tree of knowledge? HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Time, HaChodesh, HaChadash. Time is in your hands. Time is so precious. Learn from the mothers of the world how to sanctify it and make it last forever. And maybe this mamish touches on one of the reasons our holy rabbis say that Nadav and Avihu were taken from this world because they weren't married. Meaning they couldn't fathom not feeling empty and not needing more. They couldn't understand what it means to have something gashmi in this world and it mamish filling you. They had no idea what it means to have a bite. They have no idea what it meant to come home to children. They had no idea what it means to bring flowers to your wife. They had no idea what that is. And when you don't understand what that is, like the Ishbitzer says in last Shabbos and Shmini, we were learning in the Shabbos Shiur, Shabbos afternoon Shiur, we were learning that God put us in this world to be humans, not to be malachim. But what does it mean to be a godly human? It means to see the godless of the framework of your limitations in this world. What are our limitations in this world? That we don't live forever. It's a pretty good one. Pretty strong one. But what's the beauty of the limitation? That within my limited time in this world, how much do I make moments last? This is the Isha, this is the woman coming in between the two parshias of Nadav and Avihu. That as holy as it is to fly and want more, and want the highest Kedusha in the world, which is a holy thing. Again, they were consumed by fire. They became the holiest in the world, Nadav and Avihu. But God says that what you want is not for this world. I decide when Yom HaShmini is. If I wanted Yom HaShmini to take place, I wouldn't make man toil in this world. I just bring it on right away. Your Ratzon is the holiest thing in the world. And Alavai, every one of us should want Yom HaShmini for each other. Alavai, when you see someone working so hard, how dare you say, wow, he's probably going to really enjoy his Shabbos, so he worked so hard. Let him work hard again next week so that he enjoys what it means to rest. No, you desire Mashiach for your friends. That's what it meant that everyone started crying over Nadav and Avihu. You know why? Alavai, that we had friends that want to run into the Kodesh Kadoshim and bring it down to us because they see how much we're suffering from confusion in this world. And the brothers, that's why the Achem, Yifku et Asrefa, Asher Saraf Hashem, they got so sad. Because they said, who's going to want the Yom HaShmini for us now? Who's going to cry on our behalf now? And everyone starts crying. God gives us the biggest nechama in the world by putting Parshat Tazria after the story of Nadav and Avihu. Because the story of Tazria is bringing Yom HaShmini into the 7 days. The love that a mother has for its child. The love of a Bayit Me'aman B'Yisrael. The love that could exist within the frameworks of a roof, of a fridge with food, of Shabbos table, of all the Olam Hazeh things. That is the tikkun of time.
So isn't what we studied before that the birth is actually like Yom HaShmini, which is why she's, what we were saying about the Dam Vayidom, that's why she's not allowed to go into the temple, because it's as if she was in Yom HaShmini, and the temple is Yom HaShvi. So she has to come back into the Shiva Yamim. It's not within the 7 days birth.
So we said, Teshev B'dmei Tahara means she's sitting over here, she's silent, she's in this world, Yom Shekulo Shabbos, she can't be touched by anything in this world. But what's her whole thing in this world? Is raising that magic. Taking that spark of Yom HaShmini into this world. Nadav and Avihu can't fathom that. It's a different world. Now again, all this works only based on one of the three Pshatim in Rashi, that they weren't married. The other two is another. Shlomo talks about other places. Okay, so here we're going to wrap it up. You see what it is. When a mother gives birth, she doesn't need anything new. Sure, for the future, she needs the whole world to be fixed for her child. Of course, she needs... I mean, we were talking about it yesterday, right? We were talking about, like, you know, the chinuch of all our children was at Hashem. Like, what are we kidding ourselves? Are we happy with anything we see, even if it's the best in the world? Absolutely not. And I'm sure this is not a chidush of my generation of parents not being happy enough with their children's chinuch. I believe every mother and father, when they bring a child to the world, no one's happy enough. Besides Gan Talia, where my daughter Ora goes to, that is like Yom HaShmini, the Gan. But anything else after that... And all of us swear, like, you know, I have all these interviews with Rabbi Shlomo when he first had his first daughter, and also when he had a second daughter. Mamish, every interview, instead of tires about peace, love, and celebration of unity, all the interviews are all about what kind of school he needs to build for his daughter. Everything, every interview is about chinuch, about the education. How do I maintain anything close to the Yom HaShmini of a woman's birth? Where do I go? Like he said, when he was in the hospital room, when his daughter gave birth, when he held her for the first time, he could have sworn that he could never, ever do an Aveira for the rest of his life. That's what he said. But each of us are like that. Not to chas v'shalom lower from where he was. He doesn't need us to saint him either, but just let's understand that all of us are like that. But in the moment, Reb Shlomo says, she is able to fix death. A mother, how? By living the moment forever. And that's why these Torah that we're learning right now is the perfect hachana for Pesach. Because you don't become free in order to keep on getting rushes in life. You don't get the keys of freedom so that you can keep on saying, I want more, I want more. It's true, a slave doesn't want more because he just wants to get out of one place. On the one hand, I do want more. A free person can want more. But like Reb Shlomo would scream in the middle of benching Sfiras Omer, he says, what do you want more for? For what? To just have more in life? Or do you want to make that which you have now more? Like Leah Golem's Torah, was it you that said it to me, Amy? Or about the me'od, about making more of whatever it is right now. Tovah ha'aretz me'od me'od, you know? Everything in today's, like everything is more. There's so much shefa, there's an abundance of so much. Zeh le'umat zeh asa Elokim. God always makes things the way, like as much as there's more and more technology, more and more abundance. Look at, you walk through Rami Levi versus walking through like a shuk or a makolet in the 1960s in Eretz Israel, right? So there's more on all levels, but there's also more of a hunger to feel the more which exists already in our life right now. Hashem should have infinite compassion on our neshamas to just take a look at what we already have and pray so hard that somehow we begin to truly master what it means to live the Torah of moments that really do last forever. Remember, we say, Ki elef shanim be'einecha keyom etmol. We say, David HaMelech says in Tehillim, 1,000 years in our lives is like a blink, is like a yesterday for God. Being godly means that time is measured differently. How many people do I know that at the age of 50, 55 always say, oh man, if I was your age, wow. If I had that jump on life already in late 20s, early 30s, oh. But we know that the real people in life, when they're 78 and they have a moment of enlightenment, they feel like they have the whole world. Because that moment at 78 lasts much longer than 30 years of holy things even. Not the of you wanted holy things. Ishaki Tazria is a whole other ballgame. And it should be a zgula for all the gates of childbirth to open all over the world. And all people, anyone that needs a gate open in their own life, Bezrat Hashem, this Shabbos of Tazria, with the Kedusha of Nadav and Avihu, and the Kedusha of Ishaki Tazria, should bring an eternal binyan shalom for Am Yisrael. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. We're going to daven Ma'ariv right now, and we'll continue next week, Bezrat Hashem.